All right, we are live. Episode number 3. Actually, that's probably 6. 3 of Elevate Biz podcast. How you doing, Dr. Katie?
I am good. I am good. It's been a wonderfully chaotic week and can't ask for anything better.
Oh gosh. Well, you can't tease us like that. We have to know at some point in this whole thing what's going on, and hopefully it'll even tie into what we're talking about today. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about see, you put me on the spot. The importance of marketing and content marketing and how we get our message out there and what we do.
Yeah. And I love this. I know this pertains to both of us. One, because if you are watching this out there live or you're watching this later, this is literally content marketing, what we're doing right here. So, to give you a little rundown on what content marketing is, marketing kind of has two realms. You have your inbound marketing and you have your outbound marketing. Outbound is kind of your old school stuff. It's the advertising. It's the stuff that really gets thrust upon you that you really don't get a decision on if you're going to consume it or not. It's in your face. You're watching Friends, you're watching Martin, you're watching all these shows on TV, and all of a sudden there's a commercial that's thrust upon you. You didn't ask for that, but it's there. Social media ads, it's in your face, any kind of ads on any kind of platform. But then you have the other side, which is the newer marketing, I guess you could say, of more of an inbound strategy or pull marketing that some people call it as well. So you're going to be looking at content marketing. It's things like blogs, it's things like organic social media, not paid social media. It is YouTube videos, it's podcasts, it's things like that we're so excited to talk about today because it's, or it can be, incredibly important into your marketing strategy depending on who you are, who you're serving, and what kind of business that you are in. So, content marketing, is it still effective? To get going, what are your initial thoughts on this whole thing of content marketing that everyone's talking about?
Yeah, well, and Caitlin Proberts, I hope I said that correctly, said one of my favorite topics. So good. We're glad it's a topic that you enjoy. It's so funny for me because I don't come from a marketing background. And so the things that I've done, the things I've created have just been authentically me. Or I have Emma and Jenna on my team that do this so well and are so fantastic. But so often I talk to entrepreneurs that say, "Oh my gosh, you do so much on LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn. It's just not for me." Or, I just am not good on social media. I'm just not going to do social media. And it's like, well, that's a choice we all have to
Mhm.
do. Um, I've been super, super, super resistant for TikTok, not because of
Oh,
any political stance or anything like that. Like um I just think it's such a time suck. I sit there and listen
yeah.
to like super highly educated, fantastic people like cackling at a cat video, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes
So
me crazy.
good.
But for me, I had to even come to the thing where it's like, it's not about me on TikTok, it's where people are and where they need to see the work that we're doing.
Yeah. You actually you really nailed it. It's so funny because I hear that a lot. I imagine you do too with your clients and friends and everything who are either on the entrepreneurial side or the intrapreneurial side.
Mhm.
We both have friends who are in marketing departments of companies and whatnot. And I know some people that are really resistant to all these things. And I know sometimes you are for TikTok, and we definitely don't have a TikTok. But we also need to get into it and back into Snapchat and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're right. We kind of take these views of my thoughts on what I want when it comes to it, or what I think that we should do. But what do the numbers say? And
Mhm.
where's your ideal client hanging out? Where are they most receptive? So I think that is a really, really good point when it comes to it. And I know this was a huge thing years and years ago when podcast was quote unquote just starting.
Mhm.
Of There was a huge boom of, you have to start a podcast, you have to start a YouTube channel, and everyone was kind of getting into it. Obviously you had the early adopters, and then you kind of had everyone else, and I think we're kind of in that third wave now where it's like when you see people start a podcast, you're like, really? I think you kind of missed it. And it's like, is that actually true? Is it
Don't say
still
that.
effective to have those kinds of things because you weren't the early adopter? And I would kind of say I think it is pretty successful. I think it is still effective if that's where your people are, if that's where your ideal clients are. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, please don't say it's not a good time to start a podcast. As Catalyst just started a podcast, and we're doing this format, but for me, it's I found so much value in doing the podcast. Like for me, I love making videos. I love sharing tips and tricks, and I love those conversations. And so before we started a podcast, I did a year of People You Should Know, which was, just having real 10 to 15-minute conversations with people on LinkedIn. And what I found was, one, it just wasn't enough time. But number two, people really liked it, really, really liked it. And
Yeah.
then Catalyst, we did something called Catalyst Conversations. And we thought, I don't think anyone's listening. Like, no one's really engaging with the content on LinkedIn. And several times Jenna would be in a meeting and people would be like, oh my gosh, I loved Catalyst Conversations. I loved that, and we hear that even about our podcast and about this. Like, hey, I tuned in or I watched it later and took some nuggets. So to kind of wrap up my thought is also starting a podcast. Like, I was really stressed about, do I have the technical skills? Do I have all of the things that I need? Do I have the right microphone? Do I have this or do I have that? And what I found was doing research kind of in the early days, it was so much harder than it is today. Like
Yep.
nowadays, if you have good content and fairly good sound, I mean, you don't even have to have great sound. If it's good content that is meaningful to people, they're going to listen and share it. And I think that's the biggest thing about that. So yeah. And Emma said, or Jenna, sorry, my girl, sorry, Jenna. We got so much comments outside of the actual launches, which is true.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can vouch for that. I remember your episode with Dan Smith of Porterhouse, and I loved that because I even messaged you and him afterwards because I was like, Dan, I didn't even know that about you. I didn't understand your story pre that because I discovered Dan in 2020 when his business really blew up, but I didn't know that he's been doing it years before that. And so that's why I also love content marketing is it creates the opportunity for storytelling. It creates the opportunity for space for your content to breathe, but also for a lot of nuance depending on how you're using it. And yeah, I said that to you guys as well. I was like, where'd your podcast go? I love tuning into that thing. And it's so amazing because I think one thing that really messes us up is we take this vanity metrics thing into our content marketing strategies where we're like, oh, I didn't get the likes. Oh, I didn't get the comments. Oh, I didn't get the shares. But one thing we really have to know is what is the point of our content marketing strategy? Is it the vanity metrics or is it leads, prospects, sales, or other kinds of impact in that? So I think that's incredibly important when it comes to this concept of that. And I definitely agree. I cannot believe how many people have texted me, called me, emailed me recently about this or said, hey, how's the podcast going? And if you look back on when we post these things on LinkedIn, we're getting a couple dozen likes. On Facebook, we're getting about a dozen. In other places, we're not getting the likes, but those don't contribute to views.
Mhm.
But the best part of that is it starts conversations, and that's where the dollars are in the DMs. So different ways to start those conversations. This is the next best thing versus going to a networking event and talking to someone and saying, hey, essentially, do you want to buy my stuff?
Yeah. And it's funny when I am coaching people, whether it's, they're starting a new business or going to a new career or, just trying to solidify themselves in their career journey. Like it's this type of stuff, whether it be a podcast, whether it be just posting on social media, to have people see you as an expert, that go-to person. Oh, if you want to learn, about this, you need to go to that person. And so I always tell people, like, what is your brand? Who are you? And then share that, make
Yeah.
sure you get it out so people see you in that way. And a lot of times I will have people say, I started my consulting firm and, people call me all the time to do this type of work. And I hate this type of work. I don't want to do this type of work. And I'll pull up their social media presence and I'm like, uh, then take it off. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
you've branded yourself as an expert in strategic cleaning. If you don't want to do it, stop talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, it's incredibly important when it comes to that as well. Just understanding what this strategy looks like, especially if you come from the opposite, you come from push marketing, you come from the world of outbound marketing, you come from sales, you come from meetings and networking and getting it's just a different strategy. I love to tell clients when they're kind of say, should I do inbound? Should I do outbound? I say, do both. They both complement each other so well. It makes a beautiful, well-rounded marketing strategy if you can do both of those things. But you have to remember on the front side, it is a different strategy and it is a different way to approach it. Where for the outbound strategy, networking, cold calls, warm calls, cold emails, meeting somebody in person, getting the meeting, all those things are quick, and you're going out to the person. Well, on the flip, for things like content marketing, if you have started a blog or if you have started a podcast or you're in the process or you're thinking about it, I bet that's probably where most of our people are going to be is I'm kind of thinking about it. Should I do this thing? I would always say yes. And it is more times than not a longer term strategy because what we want these things to be is discoverable. And when we post these things on LinkedIn, our people in our network, they're saying, hey, I saw that you have a podcast. I saw that you did an episode. Are they listening to it? Probably not, unless what we're talking about is for them.
Yeah.
However, if it is one of our ideal clients, they are going to have a higher rate of consuming what we're talking about here. And those are the people we're trying to go for. So you kind of get the friends on the outskirts here are kind of like watching and supporting you, but then you're also attracting like a beehive, those people who are your ideal clients as well. And it's incredibly discoverable after the fact. If you have a YouTube channel and you're talking about I just bought a new laptop. If you're talking and doing laptop reviews, all your friends aren't going to just watch your laptop reviews.
Right.
But if you're in the market for a laptop and you're trying to figure something out, you're going to search that. And I bought a laptop yesterday off this guy that I've never met. He gave me great information. So I bought the laptop off his affiliate link and he got money back for that. So that was really cool because of that. But he posted that video 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. So Caitlin said, as an avid podcast fan, I always enjoy hearing the different ways people present ideas on the unique podcast, even within the same niche. They are also different. That's so true. I mean, no matter what it is, everyone has different experiences. Everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone sees things and absorbs things different ways. And then Emma said, content marketing is how you get people to know, like, and trust you. That is so important, especially early in your business. I tell people all the time, when you start your business, it's, people, either love me or hate me. Oh, I like Katie. She's fantastic. But they don't know what catalyst development is until we help people understand who and what we are and what we do. And then the other comment, Jenna says, the after the fact is so helpful. It can save an entrepreneur time to not have to tell their story over and over and over again. Exactly. I mean, that's the cool part about having, whether it be a podcast or a blog, it's, being able to direct people to you. I always, when I have a client, I'm like, or a potential client, I'm like, here's my book. This will tell you everything that I am, the work we do, all of that kind of stuff. Shameless plug. But it's true. And so when we are posting things about the book or posting things about the work we do, it allows people to know who we are and it gives them tips and tricks.
So good. Yeah. And, it's very exciting about this whole concept of content marketing because a lot of people are saying, I don't know if it's going to work for me and who I'm serving and all that. And like, yeah, I think that's potentially a good question. What I hear is, hey, I do B2C. Will it work? Hey, I do B2B. Will it work? And the answer for that, for both of those, is yes, it will work, depending on how you're going to do it and depending on how you're going to show up for that. And a lot of the conversations I've kind of been in is because I come from B2C world. That's my jam. I have a physical product. I'm going to sell you this product to an individual, and you're going to buy it and you're good to go with your life. Haven't started doing B2B until the last few years. And so I was even questioning for a while, like, does it really matter to do content marketing in a B2C sense? And like, yeah, the answer, I think, in my experience, is still yes in that way, for the exact reason that you stated, and the longer form, being able to tell a story. Storytelling is so powerful.
Yeah.
Being able to get people to know, trust, and like you, like Emma said,
Yeah.
it's just so great in that. But for you, you come from the opposite. You're only doing B2B in that regard. So how has that kind of worked with you with your business?
Yeah, I mean, we do a little coaching. We don't do a lot of individual coaching, so a little B2C, but mostly it is B2B. And the nice thing with the content marketing, the nice thing about getting it across all platforms is people get to see who we are, the work we do, and you know even as individuals, I mean, what do you do when you have someone says, "Oh, you need to meet so and so?" We go and we look them up. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, on LinkedIn, I'm connected to these 8 people. It's the same thing business to business. Like when someone says, "Do you know Catalyst or do you know Dr. Katie?" You need to be connected with them to be able to go and see who we are and what we're doing is so valuable. And I think it kind of speeds up the process because it allows us to have connections and relationships that can vouch for us and vouch for the work that we do. So I think for the B2B, it's so valuable. Now, for us, it's figuring out the right platform. I know,
Mm.
for us, Instagram, it's more of just kind of an awareness just to let people know we exist. But we get the majority of our business from LinkedIn because of the nature of the business that we do. We get people that know us and like us from Instagram and Facebook. I do very little on X or Twitter or whatever you call it. I tried Threads for about 12 hours and then I was like,
Yeah.
it's too much. I mean, it's just too much. It's
So many
overwhelming.
platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, for us, it's just really finding out what worked for us and then just really leaning into it.
Yeah, I think you said something golden earlier about, the person was like, hey, I don't want to do strategic planning or whatever you said that it was. And you're like, dude, take that off of your website then. Stop posting about it. That's
Yeah.
incredibly important when it comes to that, and like being very clear on what that looks like and whatnot. I think the same thing goes for how you show up on social media or in your content marketing strategy. One of the things that I keep hearing from people is, I'm a really good writer, but I don't want to be on video. So I'm just not going to do any of it because I don't want to do a podcast. And I'm like, then write. If
Right.
your gift is writing, you should immediately start a blog. That would be really beautiful for you to be able to do that. And then don't do that. If you're well spoken, but you're still kind of nervous about being on camera, film yourself so you have it, but do an audio podcast.
Mhm.
Don't even post it on YouTube or on LinkedIn. And if you want to, you can do the audio version and just put a thumbnail so people can
Yep.
hear your voice, and then use something like Otter to transcribe it. And now you have a blog that you can
Yep.
reformat and make it look really good. Or on the flip, like, hey, I think that I have been blessed with being able to speak well. That is my gift. I do not write well, and I do not read well. I don't know how that happened. I think I said that in the first podcast, where I didn't realize that I don't read well until I started reading my daughter books, and I'm like, why am I stumbling over this book? But you got to kind of know where you're at. But when it
Right.
comes to speaking, I love to speak. I will speak all day when it comes to that. And so when I was talking to my wife, she's like, why are you not starting a podcast? Do your gift and speak. And
Yeah.
just seeing so many people who are just so gifted at their crafts, and the pressure of feeling like they have to do it all. And then when they release that and they just get in their lane, how
Mhm.
effective they are when it comes to that. I have some friends who are in mine right now that are so good at Instagram, and I don't understand how they master that platform to go from 0 to 150,000 followers with 3,000 likes every single time. But that works for them, and they're really, really good at it.
Yeah. And I think I love that because it's being authentically you. You know, you may get some engagement at the beginning with the trying to keep up with the trends and trying to do this and that and trying to, all of the filters and all of this other kind of stuff. But at some point people are going to be like, but who are you? And or you show up one way on social media because you want to be polished and you want to be this radio voice in your podcast and all of these kind of things. And then when they meet you in person, they're like, what's the real,
Yeah, like that
what's the
doesn't
real
match
you?
what I've been
Yeah.
listening to.
So I think there's great value in just being authentically who you are in your content.
Sure, sure. So, you guys are everywhere, quote unquote, as people say, and that I also say. But like, so what are some of the things that have been a success for you? And are there anything that's like a learning lesson that you're like, oh, we tried that. That is something that does not work for us in our strategy. Anything that kind of comes to mind?
Yeah.
As we put you on the spot again.
Yeah, I'm just reading the comments because they're so good. Actually, let me not skip over Caitlin because she talked about the importance of affiliate links. Like we talk all the time. Find ways that you can make money while you're sleeping. Find ways that you can make money without having to do a whole lot of extra work, especially, if you are an entrepreneur or you're trying to grow your business. There's ways out there that you can do it. And then our good friend Angela Kennedy says, I feel that my writing tends to get corporate sounding fast. Give me an audience and a mic and the words come easily to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I will say with that, for me, we have a blog and I do writing, and so it may be more corporate or more kind of academic, and we put that up on our blog. We'll share that through MailChimp, things like that. But when I'm on social media, when I'm really doing this type of content, it's less polished. It's more just like, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm doing, and I find great value in that. And I find when I mean, to me, I love when people are like, here's the magic to get past the algorithm. Here's the tips and tricks. They are geniuses because I could never get it. Like there's one day that a picture will get like 7,000 impressions. And then there's another day where it's like, I follow the exact same formula. I do the exact same thing. And it's like, 400 impressions. And
Yep.
and there's a point where you just can't get hung up in that. You just can't get so hung up because even if only 20 people see your message, but they turn into leads, they turn into relationships, they turn into something deeper, then I'd rather have 20 people see my content than 20,000 and get nothing out of it.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so to me, I think that's been something that I've had to learn through this process is don't get hung up on the numbers. Like I went
Yep.
through this marketing mastermind and it was like, okay, really pay attention to your analytics and what are you doing? And what's this? What's your engagement? What's your impressions? And so they actually got really high. My impressions got really high through that, but I didn't get as any new business through it. And it's like, oh, so I'm beating the algorithm, but I'm not getting business out of it. Does that make sense?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That could be a whole case study right there. That's good.
Yeah. It was interesting. And it was like, I got followers, I got this and that, but the business we got was the business we were already working on. It was the business we were tracking on already.
Yep. 100%. You hit on something that was so interesting. I love what I was feeling about what you're saying was tips and tricks and hacks to be able to get to where you're trying to go versus actually leading with your heart and being aligned.
Yeah.
So how you guys lead now, you can feel it in your post and how you show up. Your online presence matches your offline presence. And I think that's incredibly important for anyone listening who's doing this right now or not doing it. It has to be you. It has to feel like you. More importantly, before you even get there to show up, you have to be aligned with your why and the purpose in which you are doing it for. That will bleed through more than anything else, any other tip, trick, or style, and how you show up this way or whatever it is. Why are you doing it? One, what's the mission behind it? Like, why? Is it just to get leads? Is it just to get money? There's nothing wrong to that. I love some good money. But
Yeah.
two, when it comes to that, what is the real the purpose, the thing that really wakes you up for whatever you're doing, to put that social media post out, to put that podcast out, or wherever that thing is? Like, what's the why? What's that thing that like gives you butterflies? Because if you're fired up for that, other people are going to sense that. They're going to feel that. Like, in 2023 going into 2024, we need more human connection. Like, we need more people being empathetic, connecting with one another, and like people loving people again. And I think that people who do this thing at a really high level, they have that. Like, there's some people that I follow that I'm dang sure that I know everything about them. To their core, they're being who they are because they show up so authentically, and I know their why. And
Yeah.
so people jive with their content, and it matters. Like, I'll come across some pages on Instagram that have like 550 followers, but that they're getting 300 likes. Like, I have 2,600, and I'll get way less than that. Why? You read their comments and what they're talking about in their captions, and it's so them. You can feel it through it, and people jive with that. So, like,
Yeah.
why are you doing it? What's the goal?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're probably trying to monetize at some variation in our sales pipeline, but also, like, what's the why of like the mission, the vision, the purpose, the
Yeah.
story behind it that making you wake up to do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love this. Caitlin said, if you get 100 views, it seems like so little. But if you imagine you had 100 people in a room listening to the same message, would that seem like a little? And I saw a graphic at one point. It's true. I mean, think about 20 people, 50 people, 100 people. That's a lot of people that you can reach in your content. And it's you're exactly right. And I know in ElevateBizKC, one of the first sessions is our why. It's why are we in business? What are we doing? What are our values? Who are we to the core? And from there, like, to me, with Catalyst, our content is so easy to crank out because it's so authentically who we are. Like, it doesn't take us rocket science to put anything out. Uh, and I have kind of an advantage because so much of it is my research and so much of it is, the work in the book and all of that stuff. So we have it kind of easy, but I will say, knowing your business, knowing who and what you want to serve in your business, and being authentically to that. Like, what are the products? And I know that's another thing we're going to cover in another conversation and that's going to be, I think, session 3 in Elevate Biz. But when you know your products, when you know what you are selling, what you're putting out into the universe, then it makes it a lot easier. But if you're living in this, like, trying to be everything to everyone at every moment, it just gets muddy and confusing for you and for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you just have to know where you're at in the life cycle of your business as well. Like, if it's year 1 or 2, it's going to be really hard for you to show up in even as many places as you want to. As these marketing gurus say, hey, show up on all the things and do the email marketing and the text marketing and the podcast and the YouTube videos and all the stuff. It's really hard if you're a team of 1, 2, 3 and you're already stretched and maxed out on your hours worked.
Yeah.
However, if you're later, 5, 6, 7, or let's say you're even in year 2 or 3, but you have some team members, you're a little more systemized, or you have the extra income to be able to hire someone to help you in that, it's going to make it a lot easier. So if you're listening to this and you already have one, or you're kind of thinking about starting a content marketing strategy, just know that you have to start where you're at with what you have. Okay. If you have the resources to be able to go all out and hire people to help you, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
if you don't, that's also okay, because you can go so deep in the platforms that you're already on and the ones that you understand, and then just go from there. Like
Yeah.
for us, we have been doing a lot of lead gen, a lot of lead conversion. That's where I come from, the school of converting these people into sales and adding massive value while we're doing it. Haven't spent a lot of time on the content marketing value add from a content perspective. And now that we're doing it, we're seeing a lot of great results from that, and just being able to have amazing conversations while we're working towards sales. And if they happen, cool. If they don't, we just had an awesome conversation still. But something that's helped us so much is we've added someone to help us strictly with that. So now we're able to put content out everywhere. Like I have a TikTok account, but now we're on TikTok. I pop on TikTok maybe once every 2 months, but now we have things going up on there. So like, it's
Yeah.
just something to work towards and knowing where you're at in the life cycle of your business.
Yeah. And, you know, I think so two things from that, that I had me thinking. One is don't compare yourself to other people. Like,
Mhm.
you know, so often I will have people want to meet with me and they're like, "What are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing this?" Da 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 da. And it's like, this is what works for me and us. It may not necessarily work for you and your team. And so I'm happy to share my tips and tricks. But to try to be someone you're not, or to compare yourself, you know, someone may have a different background than you. And so it's just it doesn't serve you well to try to compare yourself. And then the other thing I recommend is surround yourself with people, and you posted this earlier today, and I love it. You took it from one of our previous conversations. You know, surround yourself by people that fill your gaps,
Yeah.
with people that are smarter than you. I cannot tell you how many times, I mean, probably conservatively, I learned something new from Emma and Jenna probably 5 to 10 times a week. Um, but then also, I am so lucky to have a 19 and 21-year-old, and so I'm constantly like, "Tell me about this, and how should I do this? And, you know, how does this show up in this format? And if I was gonna post this on Instagram." And it's not that 19 and 21-year-olds are my demographic that we're working to hit, but they know this stuff. You know, they grew up with technology. They grew up with social media, and someone said one time to me, like, "I'm so sick of these young kids. What am I gonna learn from someone that's 10 to 20 years younger than me?" And I'm like, I was I was
It's a
kind
whole
of
new world.
yeah, I was kind of stunned by the comment, so I didn't have my wits about me to say what I should have said, which is, I'm so thankful that I'm surrounded by people that are more savvy than I am, no matter their age. Like, thank goodness I have people that are, I mean, I'm 47, you're not 47. I learn from you all the time. And so, you know, if we limit ourselves to, I can only learn from people that have the same experience than me, or as much experience than me, or that's older than me, who are you? And open your mind up. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to get off that soapbox.
Oh, that
But
was
that's
good.
one thing that makes me absolutely crazy is people will avoid learning from someone because they aren't this.
Yeah. To You had a perfect segue that I want to segue into, but I want to say one thing before I do. Uh, to kind of summarize some of the things we've been talking about as far as from a content marketing standpoint, I was taking some notes, and I think there's like really 4 things on here that I think is really important for people to hit, no matter where they're at. This is the list that I use as well. Is the first thing is have a strategy and a goal. You got to kind of know where you're going for you to be able to even get there. Second thing is understanding the channels that you want to show up on, and then what kind of content you want to create on that channel, because natively all of these seem kind of similar, but they're different. Even you can cross promote Instagram to Facebook, it's still different. It's definitely a different demographic as well. The third is create the content and publish it. That one is incredibly important because the amount of people who are sitting on all these amazing ideas in their heads, but it never gets out of their heads and on paper or into the ether of the interwebs is ridiculous. And like, there's so many creative people that need to just get it out and do their thing. And then the fourth one is being able to measure and analyze what's working, what's not working, while also knowing don't do this piece because it did a little better than this piece if it isn't something that's going to, one, fill your cup, but also two, be effective going towards your person. So those four, but
Mhm.
I think the amazing segue that you had for that was our podcast and our partnership. I mean,
Mhm.
we've been friends for a few years now and we've had these great conversations. And the reason why we combined Streamline, my company, and Catalyst, your company, is because we're able to interlock and fill the gaps in on
Yeah.
each other so we can then do the stuff better.
Yeah.
You're serving your people, I'm serving similar people, but
Mhm.
there's some gaps on your side, and I know there are some gaps on my side. And now we're coming together. It's an amazing, beautiful partnership that we're launching Elevate Biz February 7th of next year. And it's just going to be so much fun. So I'm excited we get to do this. And I'm excited we get to teach about marketing and content marketing and systems and people and all the fun things while we're also showing how it can be done and knowing that we're not perfect. We don't have the best cameras, we don't have the best lighting, we're not the best speakers, better than, everyone in the city, but we show up and we do the thing. I think that's incredibly important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And Caitlin said, I'm 26. I always tell my clients that I'm using being chronically online in my formative years to their benefit. People reach
Good.
out to Caitlin. She knows
Yeah.
what she's doing. she she's got it down. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the marriage of our work, it's just so cool to see how everything comes together. So I'm excited to continue this and to continue these conversations. I look forward to them and enjoy them so much. And I think the cool part about this is we've been having these conversations, like you said, for 3 years in coffee shops. And so to be
Yeah.
having them here and then to have amazing people like Caitlin and Angela and Emma and Jenna joining us to add to it, we just enjoy sharing this so much with everybody.
Yeah, yeah, it's so fun. I just am incredibly thankful to be in this online space, being able to do this work. I'm excited for ElevateBizKC in February. If you guys have any questions about that, ElevateBizKC.com is going to be the place for you. Fill out that form. It's going to go to Jenna. She'll be able to answer any questions for you. She can connect you with us, or if you want to go right to the source, you're already on LinkedIn, you're already on YouTube, you're already on Facebook. Send one of us or both of us a DM and let's get on Zoom. Let's meet at a coffee shop and let's get to know each other a little bit better and see if it's a good fit. If not, we both know dozens and dozens of colleagues and friends who have other programs that may be a better fit for you. But if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a small business owner, we do want to talk to you. So please message us if you are feeling like this is tickling your fancy in any way, then that's probably for a reason. So slide in our DMs and let's have a chat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. This has been a fun conversation. I was a little nervous coming into this because this isn't my forte. But I have loved it and I'm glad we could talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Katie. I will see you next week for episode 4. Stay tuned for what that topic will be about, and we'll go all the way through November. I think we have 2 weeks that we're off. But yeah, follow us if you're not already, and we'll let you know a couple days before or definitely the day before on all the information about the Elevate Biz podcast. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.